What's the value, do you think, of an art therapy program? It might sound like a dumb question because you wouldn't do it if it didn't have value, but can you talk about some of what you've seen, the changes you've seen in people over time when they are given that means of expression?
Well, a great build-up of confidence is the main thing that I see, because sometimes people haven't ever painted. They've just decided that this might be a good exploration, so they like to come and give it a go. And just to pick up the brush can be quite daunting, or whatever they're picking up, a sponge or a scraper. That in itself takes a lot of courage, and I think breaking out of that fear into as a breakthrough, it's a wonderful confidence builder.
It's an interesting choice, visual art, because for many people who don't, in fact, have a lot to do with people who are vision impaired or blind, they're quite surprised to think that someone who maybe can't look at their finished product is still happy to paint. What are some of the reactions you get from people once they've finished a work? I mean, we've heard from Alex, he gets clearly a great sense of achievement from finishing something. But how do you bridge that gap that someone's working in a visual medium when vision is not their sense?
I honestly think it's about the process of applying the paint or the crayon or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. That process is such a liberating experience, and knowing that the tactile experience, knowing that is going onto a canvas for all to see, I'm sure gives a great sense of achievement.
Well, clearly, as we've heard from Alex, and I'm going to try and get a little bit more out of Alex. Alex, if I can ask you, when you said you've just started painting. When you first started, how did it feel to be applying paint to a canvas?
Firstly, it felt strange, but as the session went on, I felt more confident in doing it.
What colours did you choose to use?
Well, firstly, I used yellow, I think it was, and then went on with the blue.
And do you draw on... You said you lost your vision when you were 12, so do you draw on your memory of those colours?
All the time. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a new thing for you. Where do you want to keep painting?
Of course I do.
Why, of everything you've done, it sounds to me like it's given you a lot of pleasure. Can you explain to us why?
Just firstly, I just never knew that a visually impaired person can actually paint till I've been told by a lot of people from Able Australia, till I actually had a go at it myself.
Yeah, I think that's coming back to what Ellen said, isn't it? That it's something that perhaps we don't associate with, a visual medium with someone who's vision impaired, but what you're talking about, Ellen, is essentially the process of creating.
Absolutely, yes.
What got you into art therapy?
Well, strangely enough, studying anthropology.
Okay.
If you really want to get down to it. Yes, well, I've always worked as a painter and a teacher myself, and have always embraced anyone who walks through the door, and I've always had the philosophy that everyone has a human right to create art, and it's not about up there and out there in the high art galleries. It's about the creativity within all of us, and I think that's what I've always done over 35 years. I suppose art therapy comes from the more intuitive part of ourselves, as opposed to my other part of where I'm teaching techniques of art. I've found that the art therapy is more about tapping what's inside in the psyche, as opposed, the visual world perhaps being created as realism.
Yeah.
So there's two areas there and art therapy has that richness, a depth that is quite separate to painting realism.
Yes, and also I guess what we're hearing both from you and from Alex is that it's such a tactile medium, painting.
Yes.
We think of it as a visual medium, but it's actually a very tactile medium. Applying, if the first thing you get them to do is to feel the canvas, then it's about this is my piece to create, I suppose. The area that I can create in. How important is the exhibition, do you think, to the process?
Oh, incredibly important, because it's an outward sign of the inward states of being. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, especially for deafblind, to be in the public arena is an incredibly important aspect. And everyone I speak to, the artists, they all embrace it wholeheartedly because it's their opportunity to really star in the public arena.